Hey YouTube, I'm at St Hill, just around the corner from L. Ron Hubbard's old house, the mecca of Scientology. Anyway, I've had a few questions about my own religious status from active Jehovah's Witnesses recently, and I had thought I'd covered everything in an earlier video entitled My Journey from Jehovah's Witness to Agnostic Atheist, but several witnesses have asked me to reconsider my position and return to the Kingdom Hall, because I cannot prove my viewpoint. Scientifically proving my position is an impossibly high bar to reach, but I'm going to attempt to reach the bar of beyond reasonable doubt, and I intend to show that, evidentially, it appears that the Jehovah's Witness governing body has even less regard for the Bible and Jehovah than I do. But before I can disprove this God, I have to define it. As a witness, we're told Jehovah is perfect, all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving, and wise, and in 6 discrete steps he created the universe. We're told he's above human needs and emotions, would never lie, cannot make mistakes, and he inspired sacred scripture as his message to his crowning creation, us. The governing body tell us the Bible is drawn directly from the mind of perfect Jehovah, recorded by those he blessed, and he preserved it without error, because God cares who you love, how you show it, and has many, many other rules he wants us to follow or die. The Bible is, apart from nature herself, the modern manifestation of God. It is his word. Our service to him starts with this book. But before I go on, I would warn sensitive religious people to leave now. I'm a little rude, and I use the Bible to refute the Bible and disprove Jehovah. The Bible is clearly not a reliable document, and it isn't even consistent with itself. The story of Judas is irreconcilably different in Acts and Matthew. The Bible also says that no human has gone to heaven at John chapter 3:13, while 2 Kings 2:11 says Elijah was whisked away there. John 1:18 says no one has seen God, whilst in Exodus 33:23 God is showing people his bum. God never tempts people, whilst tempting Abraham in Genesis. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of inconsistencies and contradictions. Then there's the stuff we know isn't true. There is no bodies of water in space. There is no firmament to keep water away from earth. Despite what Leviticus 11:6 says, rabbits do not chew the cud, and 1 Kings talks of a simple Bronze Age wall falling and killing 27,000 people, which is more than the entire population would have been by some way, and that wall must have been absolutely humongous. And we know that Noah's family couldn't breed quickly enough to be scattered at Babel, whilst building the pyramids and the South American, Chinese and Indian artifacts, whilst maintaining sufficient genetic variation to avoid inbreeding problems, all inside 150 years of the flood ending. We also know that plants did not appear on Earth before the sun, moon and stars, in contradiction to the creation account. Just these few of many examples destroys the Bible's credibility. But you can use the Bible to absolutely decimate Jehovah's credibility. The first devastating point is that Jehovah has no other supportive reference outside of this book of nonsense. But let's look at the specific claims for God's qualities. Jehovah is not all-powerful. Judges chapter 1:19 shows quite plainly he's not. The people Jehovah wanted to kill were safe from him because they were riding iron chariots. We have tanks now. But from that account, anyone with a car doesn't have to worry about him. But logically, the concept of omnipotence is impossible. Consider this. Can Jehovah make a dick too big for his ass to take? Or more politely, a mountain too big for him to lift? Logically, all power has limits, and from how quickly his grand plan went south, he found his limits pretty quickly. Jehovah is all-knowing. Again, this is logically impossible, and destroys the whole fall story. And the Bible has loads of examples of Jehovah being surprised or questioning people or looking for people, just one being in Genesis. We're told that Jehovah is always true, always honest, but in Jeremiah, his own chosen people bewail the fact that Jehovah deceived them. In Kings, he forces a lying spirit onto his victim, and whilst his people wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, on a 20-mile journey, without leaving any sign, by the way, he promises his people meat to eat, then provides them with tainted bird meat that kills thousands. Clearly, this God lies. Jehovah is error-prone. First he regrets making mankind, then he regrets committing genocide, and places a bow in the sky to remind himself not to go postal again. He won't take responsibility for his work. Rather than accept us for what he made of us, we get this complicated non-sacrifice sacrifice nonsense, and then demand we love him or die. Google, God is like a shitty girlfriend. Jehovah is supposed to be all loving. The entire Old Testament shows what Jehovah is. But do you remember when God tortured King David's infant baby for a week before killing him, whilst David starved himself and begged and did everything he could to persuade Jehovah to show a little love? Jehovah clearly has negative human emotions, and according to the Bible, is closer to a fool than perfect. Proverbs 29:11 tells us only fools get angry, and the wise man stays calm. Yet the Bible is full of God's anger, and he's jealous, insecure, and vindictive too. In Ezekiel, he forces some poor sod to eat bread cooked with human poo for a year, and threatens people with having to eat their own babies. But some Christians and witnesses try to mitigate the awfulness of Jehovah by trying to direct people towards Jesus, using him to rescue Jehovah's non-credibility. But that fails too, taking us back to the things we know are not true. In Mark 7, Jesus said that washing your hands before handling food was of no benefit. He clearly thought mental illness was caused by demons. And then there's his statements about prayer. And in keeping with the general inaccuracies and contradictions in the Bible, Jesus too has many problems. He ascended from both Mount Olive and Bethany, according to Acts and Luke respectively. In Matthew, the infant Jesus was taken to Africa to blend in and hide from Herod, fueling the story that he was black. But in Luke, he wasn't hidden away. Then there's the completely contradictory tales from Matthew and Mark about Jesus getting angry with a fruit tree. But as much as I don't accept the Bible or consider its characters as divine, I respect it as a work of literature, which is pretty okay for an early attempt at realistic fiction. It's an epic, like the Iliad, but believe it or not, I actually show more respect for the Bible than the Jehovah's Witness governing body do. And this brings me to why I don't think the governing body believe in the Bible. I acknowledge the book as literature that stands alone to be read, appreciated, enjoyed or not, and instead understood by people. But the cult leadership, quote mine, they cobble a theology together. They pretend that the book was written about them and claim they are amongst the book's biggest characters. They make prophecies, and despite warnings from the book, they add to it and take away freely and claim a fake authority. Pretty strong words, I acknowledge, but I can prove the governing body know exactly what they're doing. The 15th of August 1981 Watchtower, page 29 says, "They say it is sufficient to read the Bible exclusively, either alone or in small groups at home. But strangely, through such Bible reading, they have reverted right back to apostate doctrines." Doesn't that tell you who the apostate really is? Isn't that a confession that the members are being scammed and that the governing body can't stand scrutiny against the book they pretend to love? Doesn't that explain all the mind control and emotional bullying? And they get away with it only because their members are afraid of dying and don't want to grow up and face responsibility. Remember, the Bible makes huge claims for itself. It's either all good or no good, and seeing the liberties the governing body takes with the Bible, they clearly don't respect it. For them, it's just a way to scam the sincere people that do truly love the book. The balance of evidence is overwhelmingly against this cult, both from an atheistic viewpoint and a Bible lover's perspective, and I choose evidence over faith. This is why I decline any invitation to return to the Kingdom Hall. But to support my view further, I have a little thought experiment. Imagine two physically identical planets with identical peoples. On planet A, there is a God, just like Jehovah is claimed to be, active, controlling, and right up in your business. And on planet B, there is no deity. On both planets, people worship and pray. Tell me, wouldn't the planets be very different places? Planet A with its active God smiting and blessing, like he does in our fictional book, and Planet B where prayers are not answered, where evil can prosper, where nature explains everything once people are smart enough to work it out. And honestly, of those two planets, which does ours look like? And my coup de grace is a quote from Epicurus. He was born almost 350 years before Jesus and lived in Greece, not too far from all the action. He lived and breathed at a time when Jehovah is biblically claimed to have been doing all the tricks, smiting and blessing, to protect Jesus' line. Epicurus was there to see Jehovah work, and this is what he said. Is God willing to prevent evil, but not able? Then he is not all-powerful. Is he able, but not willing? Then he is malevolent. Is he both willing and able? Then where comes evil? Is he neither willing nor able? Then why call him God? Clearly, Jehovah wasn't there. Clearly, he never has been there. Epicurus was clearly facing the same issues we face today with our absent God. That explains God's current silence and the governing body's confidence in assuming his vacant throne. They know this. They know they can get away with cashing in and bullying us, as do all the churches. If they truly feared and respected Jehovah, would they put words in his mouth? At least I'm an honest atheist. But before I go, has anyone else realised something about the Nephilim tale? Angels must be human to successfully breed with us. We can't breed with monkeys, apes, bonobos, even though those animals are near genetically identical to us. So angels must be just Venice Beach boys with fantastic chat-up lines, chasing easily impressed women. And anyway, if angels were interested in sex, wouldn't they have a better time with each other? Perhaps it's just another one of those biblical stories we know can't be true, taking Jehovah with it.